Good evening, everybody. It's Andy from Snow Camps Europe with a Sunday ski cast. So this is the first Sunday ski cast since our summer break, and we're now back for the winter. So every Sunday at 8 p.m. I will have a different guest from the ski industry for you to ask your questions to. Tonight we have got Matt Barmall. Matt has been a holiday rep in France and Austria, and he's also done a season over in Japan. And he has also got a channel on YouTube where he posts quite a lot of vlogs about the life of a seasonaire. We are going to bring Matt on in a second, but before I do, if you would like to ask Matt any questions, then place them in the comments below, whether you're watching on Facebook or YouTube. If you are watching on Facebook, then please do feel free to host a watch party to any pages, share it with your friends, and don't forget to hit the like button. If you're watching on YouTube, then don't forget to subscribe. And yeah, if you don't get to watch all of the show, then you can watch on repeat on either the Facebook page or on the YouTube page. Other than that, I'm going to bring on Matt now, and we're going to get the show started. Good evening, Matt.
Hi, Andy. Thanks for having me.
How are you? You good?
Yeah, I'm all right. I am really missing the mountains right now, so I'm a little bit jealous that you get to be in Austria.
Well, let me tell you that it wasn't supposed to snow last night, but it did, and it snowed part of this morning. So we've had a nice dusting of snow, and it is very cold, albeit, as we know, the slopes aren't going to be open for a while. But let's not talk about that tonight. Let's talk about the life of a seasonaire. But before we do, Matt, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, so I've been doing ski seasons for the last 3 winters, 2 as a holiday rep in France, Austria, and then the last winter I was a concierge in Niseko, Japan. I've done a little bit of summer work in Turkey and Austria as well. So alongside that, I do a YouTube channel which documents some of my experiences.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll tell everybody how to find your YouTube channel a little bit later on. I, for one, am very interested in the Japan side of things. And we've already got a few comments. Kevin is watching in Zurich. Hello, Kevin. And we've got somebody watching in France who seems to be a Rosignol fan by the look of it. Sebastian, hello, mate. Nice to have you on. Carl is watching in Belfast. Chin Chin, Carl. And then we got Jane in Leeds. Leeds. I used to live in Leeds. Okay, so let's get into the questions. The first one is from somebody called Mark. We've got a few questions that were already sent in, and it's quite a broad one, really, because he's basically saying, what does a holiday rep do?
A holiday rep is like your personal guide and expert in the resort. So all their duties and roles are basically customer service focused. Their goal is to make sure you have a really good time on your holidays. So they'll be selling, answering questions, dealing with complaints. They'll be working at the airport, doing transfers, translating, and just making sure that you have a good time on your holiday.
Good stuff. There you go. So quite a lot involved. You mentioned selling, customer service. We've got a couple of other questions that relate to the kind of personality that's needed, which we'll cover off later. But Andrew is also saying hello, Andrew. And we've already got a question come in on the live feed. So I'll bring that one in before we go on to any of the pre ones. And it's from Alex. And what are the top 3 skills apart from skiing needed to work in a ski resort? Hi from Bradford. Hello, Bradford. So, Matt, over to you.
Yeah, well, it probably ties a little bit into personalities. You don't tend to need too much in the way of qualifications, but if you're someone who is passionate about the mountains, you're outward going and friendly, and you're hardworking, then you stand a pretty good chance of succeeding in a ski resort and getting work and having a good time.
Cool. I would add to that as well, probably not one of the top 3, but one of the things you probably also need, from my experience, is you need to be good under pressure. You need to be able to handle the pressure, because when it all goes wrong on an airport day, which it always does, we'll talk about that a bit more later.
Nothing prepares you for that, and once you've got your first one out of the way, you'll find yourself getting better. But yeah.
Good stuff. Okay, so John has sent in a question. Okay. So John's asking, why do you think so many people or British people rely on holiday reps when abroad?
It's a really good question. Traveling can be quite scary and unfamiliar, especially going to the mountains. We obviously don't have the luxury of beautiful snowy peaks really in the UK. I mean, obviously we have Scotland, but to the size of what France and Austria have, for example. Whilst I think people on holiday like to be independent, they like to be doing their own thing on their own steam. They do also at the same time like to be taken care of. They want to have someone there who speaks English, who understands what the British customer wants in way of customer service. And, you know, young British people are passionate about traveling. So it kind of goes hand in hand that you find them out there working these jobs.
Yeah, I think part of it, John, is it goes back to when Brits started coming on package holidays, and not many people in Europe did speak English. You wanted somebody there, and I remember reps had to speak the language of the country they were working in. So I remember coming on ski holidays to Austria, where the reps all spoke fluent German, where now they don't need to speak as much of a foreign language because so many more people speak English. But it's definitely a very British thing. Definitely a very British thing. Good stuff. So Alex said, thank you for our answer. If anybody else got any questions that you want to add, just pop them in. It can be about France, Austria, or Matt's time in Japan. Literally ask anything. And if we think it's worthy of bringing up onto the screen, we'll bring it up. So Tracy is asking, I've been on a holiday with both Ingham's and Crystal, and the arrival day always seems to be crazy busy for the reps. What are the main challenges you face? Oh.
So I have a list, and I'm just going to ring them off. Long days, the scale of the operation, weather problems, flight delays, missing luggage, wrong bus, missed transfers, cancellations, missing lift passes, lost welcome packs, problems in resorts, complaints about the rooms on arrival, drunk passengers, plane diversions, cancellations, and a partridge in a pear tree.
Drunk passengers, brilliant. For sure, there are always some people who turn up to the airport drunk. And I mean, in resort airport, as in Salzburg airport, I've had it myself. Right, yeah, there's a lot of things happening, Tracy, on a transfer day. One of the worst things I would probably say is when you arrive with your coach from resort to your arrival airport and you walk in and the board says diverted, and everything's gone to Innsbruck or even worse, Munich, which has happened to probably both of us over the years, I would think, Matt.
Yeah, and it's one of these things where for a coach of 50 people, you've got one rep, and all of a sudden people start swarming around you. They want to know what's going on. You know, there's been cases where you're at one airport and you've got to hop on a bus and then drive 2-3 hours to Munich and then sort out everything there. It's a logistical massive challenge. And when a customer gets off, when you get off your plane, all you want to know is, where's my bus? What time are we getting into resort? Is there going to be food when I get in? The staff, that the actual people who are working as reps, as managers, are running around trying to deal with hundreds of other things. There are those problems that I've all just listed, whilst also trying to focus on finding you your right bus and get you to your resort safely and quickly.
Yeah, I remember, I think it was 3 years ago now, when we had the phenomenal amount of snow fall in Austria. It just snowed and snowed and snowed. And I remember I did a live on the Friday and I said, listen, everybody, if you're coming to Austria tomorrow, expect delays. And when you get here, you're going to be grumpy. Don't take it out on the reps. It's not their fault.
Yeah. So that sort of thing, particularly when bad snow now happens on a weekend, it's commonly known amongst seasonaires as Snowmageddon weekend. And it's funny how many people arriving on a ski holiday get angry that it's snowing. It's like, we only want it to snow in the evening when we're tucked up in bed, or we're having a nice beer and a pizza with the kids. It happens, and it doesn't matter like how experienced a country might be. There is nothing that can prepare you for when 40 centimeters of snow comes herring down in 2-3 hours at the dead of night, and everybody's trying to get up to resort.
Yeah, that was a crazy year, and there was a phenomenal amount of snow on that Saturday. I was clearing my driveway repeatedly, thinking about people going to the airport and trying to get back. And I think you actually did a vlog on that day, and I think you started at something like 5 in the morning and finished at what, 3 the next morning or something stupid. It was a very long day.
Yeah, it was. So that was my first season when I was working in Weir in Val Thorens, part of the Three Valleys, very high up resort. Had a lot of snow. We had to actually, the people who would normally get the first transfer on Saturday morning, we had to take them down Friday night. So our arrival day actually started late Friday evening and didn't actually technically finish until Sunday. I had colleagues that were had to get overnighted in gymnasiums on the motorways, and it was a pretty hectic time. Just thinking about it now, it sends me shivers. Actually,
that's crazy that you had to take people to the airport the day before. Okay, so we got another question come in. It's a pretty long one from Carl. What's your day-to-day job as a rep, from pick up at the airport and drop off at the airport? And do you have much free time to ski? What's your job now as you're not in a resort? Quite a bit to that question. So what's the day-to-day bit first?
Okay, so we've obviously mentioned like the arrival day. That is, the Saturday is technically our first day of the week. It is by far the busiest day of the entire week for the rep. Let's take the first season. You're up at 3:30 in the morning. The first bus descends down with guests probably around 5. You take them to their airport, and you could be at a number of airports depending on where it is. Then you do all the operations, you get back in resort and have to deal with all those problems. And typically a Saturday it doesn't finish until close to 11 o'clock, maybe 10 o'clock at night. On that first day, you want to make sure that every single guest has got everything that they need, so that they're ready to get skiing the next day. So whether they've got a problem with their room on arrival, they need to buy lift passes, equipment, tuition, they have a complaint about a drunk passenger on the coach, you've got to deal with all of that on that first day. Sunday morning, which is then the next one, you are in the accommodations. You're sort of making sure that there aren't any overlaying issues from the night over. You want to make sure everyone's going out with a smile. So again, you're answering questions, directing people. You could be posted in a couple of places. You might actually be in the ski hire shop, or again, you might still be in the hotel doorway, just making sure that people see you, they know you, and again, helping with any issues. Sunday evening is typically when you do what is known as like a welcome speech. This could be in a bar, it could be in the hotel, or it could be just you're sort of sat there meeting someone, but then you give a bit of a five-minute speech where you introduce the area, give a couple of top tips and recommendations, and then again you sit down afterwards and you try and start selling après activities, again dealing with complaints, dealing with activities that people want to do. And then as it gets into Monday, actually things become fairly straightforward. Typically you sort of spend a couple of hours in the morning and in the evening and in your accommodations, so that if anyone just has anything, they can come to you. But after Saturday, you're sort of doing a couple of hours in the morning, a couple of hours in the evening. So you have plenty of time actually in between that to ski. So this as a rep, you're going to be probably, if you're super keen, skiing 5 days a week whilst also working. I guess I think I've kind of covered everything. If you ask what's my job now, I was working as a delivery driver throughout the summer months, having had to come back early from Japan. At the moment, I'm desperately trying to find how to go back out to the mountains.
Cool. Okay, good stuff. There you go, Carl. I think something else that is very apparent from what you just said there is you've got to be very good at problem solving when you're a rep as well.
Yeah, you have to think you have to think on your feet a lot of the time. what you'll find is that a lot of the problems they bring to you have nothing to do with you. They're not your fault. And you, in some cases, might have suffered as well from whatever the issue was. But it's your responsibility to come up with a solution. Now, whether that is compensation or whether that's thinking on your feet and going, do you know what? Go out and take your family out for a meal. Say €50 budget, we'll cover it, that type of thing. Or you give them something that you know is going to just make sure that they actually have a positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
It can. You've got to be able to think and learn to solve the issues.
There's also an element of managing expectations, isn't there, I suppose?
Yeah, some people will come and say, like, for something totally unreasonable, they'll want a full refund. They weren't happy with the ski lesson. The instructor took me down a run I didn't want to, or whatever. But then what you have to do is you have to go and investigate. Typically, you've got to try and solve things within 24 hours, but sometimes even that doesn't happen. So, yeah.
Okay. So everybody who's watching, we've got quite a few people watching. We have got a fair few questions backing up. We will get through all of them. We always do. But if you've asked one and you're waiting for it to come round, then we'll get to it very, very soon. Next one that's just come in is from Richard. I joined late, so don't know if this has been asked, but what will happen to holiday reps after Brexit? Well, just before the show, believe it or not, we had this conversation. Do you want to go first, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, all I would say is that no one really knows at the moment. It's not true that 25,000 jobs are going to disappear after Brexit. The answer is nobody knows. What I will say is, from experience of working a little bit in Turkey in the summer and also my last season working in Japan, I had to get a visa to work in those areas. To do that, there was no issues. It wasn't much hassle. There was a little bit of cost to the one for the Japanese visa, but it was straightforward, and it enabled me to go and do the job that I love. So no problem getting a visa if we have to post-Brexit.
Mm-hmm. Cool. From my side, Richard, what was I going to say? Oh, from my side, yeah. So I worked in Austria in '88 before Austria was in the EU. So I was from Great Britain working in a non-EU country. It wasn't a problem for me to come and work. I don't therefore think it will be a problem for people from Great Britain to come and work in Austria, using Austria as an example, after the 31st. Will there be some hoops to jump through? Will there be some forms to fill out? Probably, but will they be able to get jobs and come and work? For sure they will. Hopefully that answers your question. As kind of Matt has said, no one really knows, but that's what we think, and that's our experiences so far. So Sebastian I've got a question from Sebastian, but it's more COVID related than the life of a rep. So I'm going to leave that one, Sebastian. If you want to ask me that on one of the COVID updates that I do pretty much daily, I'll be back tomorrow with an update on Austria, then feel free. Or if we get time, then I'll cover it off at the end maybe. Alex is back from Bradford. I think she was in Bradford. What other jobs or roles tend to be available in resort? Your job sounds like a nightmare. Well, to be honest, Alex, it's possibly the hardest job and the most underpaid. Yeah. But it is a job. But other jobs, Matt, what kind of people do?
So one of the other common ones with the tour operator is a chalet host. That is someone who spends most of their time in one particular chalet doing cooking, cleaning. You spend a lot more time actually with one set of guests. But again, it's the same kind of requirements: customer service, looking after the guests, making sure they have a good time. If you want to be a bit of a handyman, then someone, say like a driver, is quite a common one, because you might be shuttling the guests in the morning for a luxury chalet company, and then you'll be going around all of that things, making fires, making sure that the equipment is working. Ski instructors, obviously, if that's something that you're interested in, Andy can probably tell you a little bit more also on that. But there's a big British community that like to learn to ski. Nannies, concierge, which was a different thing to working as a rep, but again, customer service. There's quite a few, but yeah.
I suppose then outside of the travel companies, Alex, and just anything that happens in resorts. So you've got restaurant staff, bar staff, DJs, hotel staff, reception, waiters, people who work in the spas. You can work on the mountain. You can be a lift attendant, ski patrol. Matt said ski teacher. There's not taxi driver, transfer drivers. There's all sorts of stuff. You just think about the infrastructure of a ski resort. All them jobs are available. You may need a second language for some of them. You may not need a second language. You may need to have some kind of pre-training or licenses. But yeah, there's a plethora of jobs. When I first worked in a ski resort, I had a book, and I probably think it's been updated since then, but it's probably still out there. And it was something like ski resort jobs, and it was about this thick, and it had everything from snow clearing to ski teaching. So yeah, Alex, loads of different things. Are you thinking of coming about doing a season, Alex? Okay.
I don't think she's going to want to be a rep.
Yeah. Alex, Carl saying thanks for your answer. Cobra Cricket Company. Do you have to do a first aid if someone has an accident? So do you have to? So is this? Do you have to administer first aid?
This is a family relative. This is.
Okay.
Yeah. So no, you don't. You don't get any training as a first aid or anything like that. But what you are trained to do is, you've got to call the mountain patrol, or call the local emergency services if something does go wrong. You are not to get involved from sort of a medical first aid side of things.
Yeah, cool. For sure. No, if you're not trained, then don't get involved. Call someone who is. Okay, Cobra Cricket Company, you also asked a COVID-related question earlier. Again, I'll try and cover it off on one of the COVID lives rather than on the ski cast this evening. I hope that's okay for you. Stuart, great question, Stuart. What's the deal with wages? How much can you reasonably expect to be paid? How much time off for skiing, say in a handyman type role? Okay, how much can you expect to be paid? Well, Stuart, don't be surprised if you don't get paid.
So typically as a seasonaire, you could be getting paid anywhere between 800 to 1,100 euros. It's not a lot. And especially when you've got to think of all the things that your expenses, accommodation, lift passes, ski gear, food and drink. It's not a lot. I have said on numerous occasions in the past that I don't think seasonaires get paid enough for the amount of work and they do and what they put up with. As a handyman, I'm going to assume that's maybe like someone to say like a plumber or an electrician, so going around doing things here and there maybe. That depends on how busy you are with work, I guess, because they're not going to want you working within the hotels or the chalets morning and evening when the customers are there eating. You'd be doing it during the day, but you'd probably have all of Saturday and mostly Sunday probably to go out and enjoy the mountains, so maybe a little less.
Yeah, I would think a handyman's probably getting a little bit less, but maybe not as much time to ski. So what did you say? 800 to 1,100?
Yeah, well, yeah, anywhere between there. I guess it's sort of. I don't know how much you get paid, say, if you're doing a bar job, but through various conversations, I've heard figures in between and around that.
Yeah, well, to be honest, if you're taking home 1,100 as a rep take home in Austria, then it's not far off the minimum pay that a bartender would be getting for a 6-day week. And then to get minimum, they would be 1,250 after tax. So it's not too dissimilar, albeit, it's not a great deal of money for the amount of hours you have to put in as a rep. But a lot of people don't do it for the money, Stuart. They do it for the experience. Albeit I am with Matt, and reps should be paid a lot more money than they are.
if you're a bit crafty and you're sort of a bit of an entrepreneur, then there's plenty of other things that you can do in resort to make money. Whether that's selling bits of ski gear or doing a couple of gigs in the evening, anything for you to get out there and work in the mountains.
Yeah, a lot of skiers, a lot of ski teachers are also musicians, so they work in a few bars of an evening playing guitar. I did many things on my first season because, believe it or not, £35 a month.
What?
£35 a month. I got my lift ticket, I got my board, I got my travel out, my uniform, etc., etc. I got 35 a month. Now, luckily, that was to work as a ski technician. Which meant you could ski a lot because you did an hour or so in the morning, an hour or so in the afternoon, and then you worked like hell on a Friday night to get all the kit serviced, dried, re-waxed, etc. And then you worked all day Saturday, and then Saturday evening doing the ski fit for about 500. Yeah. We had two school groups every week, so about 500 people, and 35 a month. But luckily, I got a job as a ski teacher as well and as a DJ, so I ended up earning a lot of money for. Back in 1988, but I also went and bought all of the swimming caps from the Intersport because all of the swimming pools required you to have a swimming cap. So I rented swimming caps. On a Saturday morning before going to wax skis, I would go around about 2 of the hotels and collect all of the glass pop bottles and take them to the supermarket to get the deposit back.
Yeah.
And I had a couple of other things on the go as well, which all helped me leave resort with quite a lot of cash in my pocket. But that's got to be my favorite one, though, is the bottles, because if people don't know, it's particularly like in Austria, it's like you get money back if you put all the recycled bottles back. And at the end of the season, in our room, we had probably about 6 crates worth of Stiegel beer bottles in the corner. Yeah. And you took them there and you came out with about 40 euros of cash. But it's that first month that is really challenging when you get there, trying to get yourself settled and from a money standpoint, because your first paycheck doesn't come in until around Christmas, but you might have to pay for your lift pass, which could be now is like a couple of €100 at least. Skis, lift passes, anything else. Yeah. So. Yeah, so there you go. Who was it that asked that? Stuart. There you go. They don't get paid a great deal. They work a lot, but there are ways to make extra bits of cash. Alex is back. I will be retiring from 38 years of nursing, so interested in doing something different. Do it, Alex. I came back 8 years ago, and I'm extremely happy that I did. So do it. Cobra Cricket Company is saying thanks. So yeah, okay, quite a few questions covered already. Let me see the ones that we were sent in. Sam. Okay, Sam is asking, what's the funniest complaint you've ever had?
Okay, so probably the two, there's one that's really common, one less so, but they are probably the funniest. So the first one being a guest arrives, checked into the hotel, and they're not happy because their room doesn't have a balcony, but then the hotel didn't have a balcony, and they keep kicking off. Like,
none of the rooms have balconies.
No, there's not really much I can do. If you want to change hotels, you can, but you've got to pay for it. And the other one is someone wasn't happy at the fact that they had to buy a lift pass. They didn't know that you needed a lift pass to go on the mountain, which in fairness, for someone, like you and me who've been skiing for years, we know that. But if it's your first time skiing, it's quite scary, it's intimidating, it's understandable, but at the same time, it is pretty funny.
Yeah. I had one in the summer. I did a couple of seasons, summer for TUI, Thompson Lakes and Mountains, and I had 2 people arrive, drop them off at their hotel. The next day, around about 7 p.m., they said, our hotel isn't serving dinner tonight. I said, no, that's because you're in a bed and breakfast. This is quite funny. That's what you booked. You booked a bed and breakfast, so you're not going to get your dinner. Anyway, yeah. Okay, there you go, Sam. Sorry.
I was just going to say, probably with Austria, the common thing is the Brits mistaking one Austrian twin beds.
Yes, yeah. Especially if you go away as like 2 guys or 2 girls, and you go in and you're like, hang on a minute, we should have 2 beds, but it's an Austrian twin Yeah, so it's kind of a double bed with a piece of wood down the middle. Yeah, yeah. They do come up quite often. They do.
Yeah.
There you go, Sam. Now, John, do you have to be able to sell to be a holiday rep?
It's not a requirement to get the job, but you will sell as a holiday rep. So at the start of the week on Saturday, you're selling lift passes, equipment, ski lessons, and you have a target. So there's weekly targets set. So that's quite challenging if you've never ever done it before. And I can tell you, I was so nervous that first week. And I was like, you're wondering what happens if you don't reach a target or whatever. There's like a leaderboard, and so there's a bit of competition between people. And then in the week, you're trying to sell your après activities. So through repetitively doing it, you do get better at it. So yeah, you will end up doing it at some point.
I would think that something like a lift pass is a relatively easy sell because everybody needs a lift pass. You're just hoping that they haven't gone off to the lift pass office themselves to buy it. But I could see that maybe other things may be a bit more difficult.
Well, I mean, with lift passes and equipment, there's always a percentage of the customer that likes to do this part on their own. It's almost like their sort of initiation to the holiday, and they properly feel like they've taken charge. If you're with a group of people and you come back with all the lift passes, you kind of tend to wear that with a badge of pride. And also someone knows someone previously that can do them a bit of a deal at a discount. It's quite common with like family run businesses or anything like that. You can get like 5-10% off. The ski lessons, yeah, that's a bit more of a harder sell. One thing which is quite stupid, and we have had this quite a few times in the past, is someone's with a group and it's their first time ever skiing, and all their mates have convinced them that they don't need lessons. It's fine. We can teach you. We're a good group. It's fine. You'll pick it up in a few days. And when they're told that to you, you do try and say to them, I just want to you have to sort of make clear that you did say to them, we think it'd be a good idea for you to just have lessons, just so you're taught about the safety on the mountain.
Yep.
But yeah, you can't make someone have a lesson.
Yeah, we see this all the time at ski school. So in Austria, Sunday morning is the first day of the week, and there will be people, as you've said, they're with a group of mates, or it's a couple, whether they be married or just the boyfriend, girlfriend, let's say, and the boyfriend has said to the girlfriend, you don't need lessons, I'm going to teach you, I've been skiing for many years, come with me. And then on Monday, the girlfriend or sometimes the guy turns up at ski school and basically wants to start in group lessons as a beginner one day late, which means they're already behind. And not only that, they're psychologically scarred because their partner took them on a run that was way beyond their ability as a total beginner. So yeah, we see that all the time. And unfortunately, ski holidays are not cheap, and things like lessons and equipment and lift passes do increase the cost of it. But people, please don't take your friends skiing if you're not qualified to teach them. Let the professionals do the job. While we're on the subject of discounted equipment, then anybody coming to Capron, I can offer you a small discount on rental equipment. Anyway, that was John's question. Carl. Oh, we've similar questions. So Carl, you also asked about the payment of the reps. Now, James, what is the accommodation like for reps?
Varied, to be honest. I would say the best accommodation I've had was in Austria, but my first season I was actually in a hotel, the same hotel where a lot of the guests were staying. So it was a small, very basic room, single bed, with a view of the car park and a basic shower. Very hard to escape customers. Then I was the second season I shared with another guy, 2-bedroom room, had a little kitchen area, so we were able to actually cook some basic meals. And then just in my season in Japan, I shared with about 10. It grew to about 14 and 15 when girlfriends and boyfriends arrived. So that was a bit more of a squash.
I remember the Japan vlog when you arrived. You showed us around the house, and I think you were the first person there. And it looked very big. And I was thinking to myself, I wonder how many they're going to squeeze into that. But what you might not know, Matt, and this I think is from one of your vlogs in Seoul. You showed us around your apartment, and I just happened to have that video. Here it is, folks. This place is great, and I have to admit that for seasonal staff accommodation was very, very good. That's probably the top end.
Yeah, no, it was really good. The only downside was that we were right next to the church, and obviously Austrian churches like to make quite a bit of noise at very early hours. So even after an airport day, you were up early. But yeah, it was really, really good digs.
Yeah, during lockdown, I've been doing a week in Kaprun and then a week over in Lietzen and next to a church. And 7 o'clock in the morning, every morning, the bells ring for about 10 minutes. Not ideal. Just while we're on it, so where was this, Matt?
That was over in Meribel, lovely bluebird ski day in the Three Valleys.
Okay, so Three Valleys, and then you've worked, we just said about the accommodation in Seoul. So this is another sunny day in the Skivelt.
Yeah, you can see actually just in the top right-hand corner the Ho Salve Mountains. So down the side of that is Seoul, where I work. But Skivelt was another big ski area. And yeah, I think that's from the top of Schafau or Elmau, that.
Schafau, I've been to Schafau many times. And this, obviously you said you worked in Japan.
Very, very different landscape in terms of skiing and just all around winter life mountain. That you can see in front, that big mountain, is Mount Yote. I am hiking here to the top of the main sort of Niseko resort. Unbelievable. One of the few bluebird days.
I'm guessing that's a volcano, right?
Yes, I believe it is. You can actually ski tour up and ski into that crater. Apparently you get some pretty wicked days, but you only are able to do it from about February onwards. And there was at least one person who died going on his own up there in the winter I was there. It's not something you do without a guide.
Okay, cool. I know a few people who've been over to Japan, and we've got a Japan question coming up in a second, but two Japan questions actually. So here's the first one. How do I say that? Is that AD? Is it difficult to get a work visa in Japan if you're over 30? How old are you, Matt?
I'm 27.
Okay.
So I, truth be told, I don't know the answer to the bit in regards to over the age of 30. In terms of getting a visa for me, it was relatively straightforward. The embassy for Japan is in London, not too far from Buckingham Palace, actually on the other side of the park. You do end up having to go twice. You have to go down and submit your application for it's what they call a working holiday visa, and it is a little bit tricky in the sense that you're not able to. You have to be discreet about the fact that if you've got a job before going out there, you've kind of sort of got to make it more like, you're going out there, you're going to go and explore the country, but you may try and pick up work while you go there. So you've got to be a bit crafty about how you word the visa. But it's only, I think it was about £25. I think I paid for it. You leave the passport with them there at the embassy, and then you come back about a week or so later.
So is it better to have a job offer before you go to get your visa?
I did. I had my job already sorted there, but there are people who might decide first that they were going to fly to Tokyo, explore the mainland, and then work their way up. And when they get there, look for work in bars and ski shops. But companies out there will be recruiting as normal anyway. So it's far better, I would say, to get a job before you go out to a ski resort.
Okay, so on that point, Vanessa is asking, how did you go about getting your job in Japan? How easy was it?
So after doing my work as a rep and the time in Europe, I wanted to change in the winter industry. I'd like to sort of make it my lifelong career. So I wanted a new challenge. I wanted to sort of maybe change things up a bit. And I thought, well, I'd like to go into the luxury sector. I went on Google. Japan was an area which has a really good reputation for the world's best snow. And I researched basically luxury companies. And I came across a company called the Niseko Company. So pretty straightforward name, but they look after at least 40 luxury high-end chalets in there. And they were advertising for drivers and also for concierge staff. And it was really straightforward from there. I just sent a cover lettered email with my CV, sort of detailing my previous experience, my getting across my passion for the job. And then about a week or so later, I had a video call with the boss. And very shortly afterwards, said, congrats, you've got it. Now you need to go away and get your visa. And that was that.
Brilliant. Good stuff. Very interesting. Now, we've got another question on Japan, and this is from Alex, who is retiring from nursing after 38 years. Yeah. And what are the highlights of Japan? How different is it to Europe?
Massively different. First of all, it's not, say, somewhere like France, and it's not massive, big connected ski areas. Generally, the skiing is actually quite small. What you do go there for is the snow in the backcountry. So it's not so much the on-piste skiing. It's more of a mecca for those that like to do the backcountry and the powder. But increasingly, where I went, Niseko is it's very appealing to the luxury market. There's a lot of expats from Hong Kong, a lot of people from Singapore, New Zealand, Australia that go there. So typically, from a weather point of view, just to put this in perspective, a European season, you'll get around 3 meters of snow during a winter season. The average snowfall in Japan per season is 14 meters. So it's a phenomenal difference. My season was actually the worst season Japan had on record for about 30 years, and they still only had about 7 meters during that season. So by all accounts, a lot more snow. The layout of the villages are very different and like nothing I had ever seen before. But the one thing that is so striking actually is how polite the locals are. You enter any shop and it's a bow the head and saying hello, and very friendly, welcoming atmosphere.
Is there much après ski, Matt?
No, it's not something that takes place over there. There are, of course, bars, and they are very, very unique and hip. The Aussies do make it quite lively, that's for sure. But there was a bar directly opposite my house, which was somebody had built a shed next to the side of their house, which connected into their basement. They built a bar inside. They had a kitchen in there, so you'd go over for cheap burgers and beer. What they'd done is they dug a little area out the back with snow, and then they would just chuck logs in it and have a fire out of an oil drum.
Okay, and this was an official bar. This wasn't like a...
It was an official bar, but all I'll say is that the local police car drove by quite regularly to do checks. But other bars, so there's the famous bar in Niseko, which is disguised because its door is a fridge. So you enter into the bar through a fridge door. Another one had a ski-doo on the door. So it's pretty out there in terms of bars. But
okay,
you're not,
Cool. There you go, Alex. Hopefully that answers that question. Couple of last ones before we finish off, Matt, which are kind of important for people who are thinking about working a winter season. Martin is asking, when is the best time to start applying for jobs?
You apply from June to late October. The earlier you do it, the better.
Yeah, for sure. And that would be predominantly with the big tour companies, right? That kind of time frame.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I would kind of say if you're looking for a job in resort, which isn't with an English tour operator, then again, the earlier the better. The minute the summer season ends, most ski resorts will close until the end of November, mid-December. We're lucky here in Capron, we open mid-October, early November. But if you want to try and get a job here in Capron, you would want to apply before the end of the summer, before the shutdown, because once they've shut down, they've already got their teams in place for the winter. Cool. So there you go, Martin. And Maggie, what's the best way to find a job in a ski resort? Where does she look for jobs in ski resorts?
So first thing is one way you go direct to the company. So if you know the tour operator, the hotel, the bar that you want to work for, you just go straight on their website, and you either go through their vacancy pages, or you just you find the manager's email and you send them a direct one. The second biggest option is Facebook groups. This is something which a lot of people who have never done a season actually know, but the community is quite a hidden thing. So most resorts will have a Facebook group. For example, let's say Zellamsee Season Airs 2020-21, and you'll go on there and you will find people posting small little paragraphs introducing themselves, saying what type of work they're looking for. And you'll get the same thing the other way. The employers looking for people to work for them. So it's a place where the community kind of comes together. And that's a good one. The final real one is you turn up and you wing it. You have a load of CVs in your hand, and you go and you go around and hope there's work. But obviously there's a lot at risk there, and you've got to think about costs and actually trying to find a job. That's a very risky one.
Yeah, I think there's also Maggie. There's a website called Natives. I don't think did you mention Natives? You didn't.
There are a lot of like job recruiting season air websites. No one particular one is better than the other. It's literally just sort of a gamble. If you know the resort you want to work in, you've got to try and find what page has got those on there, and then you can look at your options. But loads of websites.
Good stuff. Cool. Brilliant. Okay. Just before we wrap up, and I think back on that question, one of your most recent vlogs was how to find a job in a ski resort, wasn't it? Or something like that?
Yeah, I'd done one last year, and I'd sort of did an updated one quite recently for regards to this season, but obviously things have moved on quite a bit. But yeah, that was one of my recent ones.
This season. What season? Okay, so if people want to go and see any of Matt's vlogs, then Bramski Vlogs on YouTube is where they need to go, right, Matt?
Yeah.
Cool. And how often are you posting on there?
So at the moment, it's about once a week or so. I'm sort of trialing a bit of new content at the moment, but there's at least 200 videos that you can file through, and there's playlists. If you want to know what it's like working the season from start to finish, you can watch back and find that all out.
Good stuff. Cool. I didn't realize you had 200 videos on there. Brilliant. So there you go, folks. Thank you, Matt, for your time on this Sunday evening.
No, thanks, Andy.
Cheers, man. Go and find Matt's YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and like every single video. As we said, also don't forget to subscribe to the Snow Camps Europe. For those of you who are watching live, who are after COVID updates, tomorrow I will do a quick live because we are going to get an announcement on Wednesday here in Austria. And also, if you didn't already see it, just below this live on the Facebook page, I was interviewed this evening on Chinese Global Television Network, where they asked me a few questions on my thoughts about the upcoming season here in Austria. They also spoke to some people in Germany at a ski area called the Wank Lift, which was highly amusing when on a national news program to see that come up on the screen just before they asked me questions. And yes, now that I know 100 million people watch that show, then it was quite concerning. I was able to get through it without laughing. Anyway, Steve is saying, great content, guys. Thank you. Alex, thanks, guys. Really interesting. Let's hope we have something of a season. Stay safe. Thank you. So yeah, there you go. Thank you very much, Matt. If you want to stay there, Matt, I will come and talk to you in a second once I've just wrapped up with everybody else. But thank you very much, mate, and I'll see you in a second.
Cheers.
So there you go, folks. Matt Barmall, the holiday rep and season air. Go and check out his vlogs on YouTube, Bramski Vlogs. Next week, I should be back with a Sunday Ski Cast with Riley McGlashan. Riley is an Australian skier. He is an examiner for the Australian Ski System or Alliance. He is also one of 2 people involved with a project called Projected Productions, which is a film business. They make skiing movies, a lot of educational content they make. He has got an absolutely massive YouTube channel. If you search Riley McGlashan in YouTube, you'll find him. Have a look at this guy ski. He's possibly one of the most technical, one of the best technical skiers that are out there. And he is going to come and talk to us about Projected Productions, the film company, and also about his time in Japan, where he has worked as a ski teacher for many, many years. He also was a ski teacher in Aspen, Colorado, and I was lucky enough to get to ski with Riley and a couple of his other associates here in Kaprun around about 5 years ago. So very much looking forward to getting Riley on next week. He is a very, very busy guy, but hopefully we will have a promo video to show you in the coming days, and that'll be next Sunday. But for now, Andy, Snow Camp Trip in Kaprun, I will be back during the week on the Facebook page with some COVID updates and anything to do with the up and coming season. But for the time being, everybody, thank you for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe, share, and do all of those things. And keep positive and test negative. Bye for now, everybody.